it's something we do. I mean, from here on out, you have to know how to deal with exponents. Super important. I can't even stress how important it is. So that's why we're spending a little bit extra time on this. So we're not going to go into the next section today. So instead of doing the homework it was assigned initially, I want you to go ahead and do that exponent practice problem sheet and just send it to me, and I'll look at it and see how you're doing on that. You can also check yourself. The answers are online under the resources. So do that so that you'll keep it fresh in your brain over the weekend. And I also said to do the bookwork from 5-1. That's identifying different types of polynomials and adding and subtracting polynomials. I think y'all should be able to do that without any difficulty. So I was kind of trying to get that out of the way before class on Monday. If you do have problems with it, that's okay. Just come to class and we'll discuss that in class. I don't know why I put 2 commas there. And if we have time in class today, we'll do those problems just to start. The multiplying polynomials is what takes a little bit more time. Make sure you review what you missed on test 3 if you haven't done so already. And I have heard from a couple people that they're having trouble viewing the comments or the feedback on Blackboard. So if you are having difficulty with that, just let me know, and I can help you with that, or email you the corrections or whatever we need to do so you can see what you missed. Okay, so I'll put this back up later when everyone gets here, hopefully. And I want everyone to do this Kahoot, and we'll discuss it as we go through it, because this kind of covers everything that we've done with exponents so far. You have trouble getting on, just please just pay attention and write it down and play along. I'm going to go ahead and start it. Hopefully, you'll do pretty good. We'll talk about any that are giving you trouble. Okay, good. Most of y'all got it. Remember that when you multiply and you have a common base, I know that's kind of blurry, but you can see it. You keep the base and add the exponents. So that would be 7 to the power of 11. Okay. Again, when you multiply and you have the same base, in this case, the base is m each time. If there is no variable, no exponent on the variable, it's an implied 1. So like that's m to the first power. So 4 plus 1 plus 2 would be 7. So that would be m to the 7th.
My test only shows the colors. It doesn't show the answers.
It doesn't show them?
No, it just shows the colors.
Huh. That's weird. Okay, so this is just the same. It's just straight multiplication. It's just written a little differently. It's got parentheses instead of the little dots in between, but the p's are the common base. So you'd add the exponents, and that would give you p to the 9th. And then you have m's that are common base, and the implied exponent here is a 1, so that would be m to the 3rd. Well, you can see the next one, Mike. Can you see it on my screen?
Yeah, I can see it on your screen.
But just not on yours?
Let's see here.
Okay. Most of y'all are getting these. So you're going to multiply the -3 and the 4. That would give you -12. And then add the exponents on the x, and that would be x to the 8th. Add the exponents for the m, and that would be m to the 8th. And on the p, there's an implied 1, so that would be p to the 3rd. So that is, so you always just multiply. When you're multiplying and you have constants, you just multiply those constants together. Dividing now. Good. Okay. So when we divide, we just subtract the exponents and keep the base. So m, we keep that, and 7 minus 4 is 3. So it would be m to the third. If you just come in, I put the pin and everything on the, well, it's down here on the bottom of the screen if you want to join the game. Yay, everybody got that one.
I'm sorry, so the whole thing is negative? Is that what the minus sign is?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
You can either have the minus out in the front, which is fine, or on the top. You could have it on the bottom, but that's not very a happy thing. Okay, so let's look at this one. So we've got the 4 and the 20. The negative just stays there, doesn't move. This whole thing is just going to be stay negative. And 4 goes into 4 one time and into 28 7 times. So you have 1 over 7. So the 1 you don't have to write there if you don't want to. And then we just subtract the exponent. So 8 minus 3 is 5. 7 minus 3 is 4. So we're going to have w to the 5th, p to the 4th over that 7, and it stays negative. Okay, anything to the 0 power is always the number 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, good. Most of y'all got that. It's negative 1 because the 0 power just goes with the 12 unless the negative 12 was in parentheses, and then it would go with the negative as well. But if you don't have parentheses and you have a number to the 0 power, then the 12 goes to a 1, but the negative just sits there and looks pretty. Okay, so the only thing that is going to need to be simplified is that m to the 0, and that goes to a 1. And when you multiply 3p to the 6th g to the 2nd by 1, you just come back to 3p to the 6th g to the 2nd. Okay. I'm surprised about that one, but let's talk about it. Remember the negative power? That tells you to take the reciprocal of the base. And then once you've done that, the power becomes positive. So this is going to be 1 over 3 to the 3rd power. And 3 to the 3rd would be 3 times 3 times 3. So you have 1 over 27. Okay, so we had 3 to the negative 3rd. This tells us to take the reciprocal of that, or you can look at it, this is just like over 1. And so anytime you have a negative, you want to switch the base. If it's in the numerator, you want to switch it to the denominator. If it's in the denominator, you want to switch it to the numerator. So this will switch to the denominator. And so that's going to be most of y'all that finished that one got it right. That's good. So let's look at this. I'm going to put this all over 1. And anything that has a negative power that's in the numerator is going to get moved down into the denominator. So this guy has to move. This guy has to move. This guy has to move. once it goes over the division bar, it turns positive. This is just a 1, and 1 times anything is just itself. So 1 times w to the 6th is w to the 6th. Okay. Okay, so this negative just tells us that the simplified version is going to be negative. There's no parentheses anywhere, so that negative isn't going to be altered in any way, shape, or form. So this is like, I'm going to put this over 1. So this guy has to go down in the bottom. This guy has to go down in the bottom. So what I'm left with is negative 2 to the 5th on the top and p to the 5th on the top. And the bottom is x to the 3rd and m to the 2nd. Okay, so this guy right here is the same thing as negative 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Notice that the 2 is being taken to the 5th power. The negative is not, because that's not in parentheses. So this would be negative 32. So your final answer would be negative 32 p to the 5th, x to the 3rd, m to the 2nd. Okay. So this guy has to switch places. And 2 goes into 6 3 times. So on the top, we're going to have 3 and a p to the 4th. And on the bottom, we're going to have x to the 7th and to the 8th. So the 7 and the 14 reduced to 1/2. So far I have x to the negative 7th, y to the 4th, over 2x to the 4th, y. And then I'm going to subtract the exponents. On the variables that are common. So negative 7 minus 4 would give me x to the negative 11th. And 4 minus 1 would give me y to the 3rd. And then this guy has to move across the division bar. There's more than one way to do that. You might have approached it differently, and that's fine. You might have switched that down in the x to the negative 7th. You might have put it in the bottom and then added the exponents, and that would have worked just as well. That's the thing about exponent problems. A lot of times there's multiple ways to approach them. Okay, so when you, this is just a basic law of exponents, when you have a power on top of a power, power of a power, you just multiply those two guys together. Because if you think about what's happening here, 8 squared to the 5th would be 8 squared times 8 squared times 8 squared times 8 squared times 8 squared. And that would be 8 times 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 8, which would be 8 to the 10th. And you do not want to have to do that every single time. So that's why you have to memorize the laws of exponents. Okay. So when you have a product and a power on the outside, power of product, then you're going to take 5 to the 2nd power And then you're going to multiply those two bases. To wind up with. So you have to apply that power to every single part that's inside the parentheses. The caveat to this, and we'll talk about this on Monday, is if you had something like this, 5 plus n to the 4th squared, you would not do this. Okay, this only applies to a power on top of a product, not a power on top of a sum or difference. So first thing, if you can, the first thing you want to do is always decide on the sign. Like, is it going to be negative or positive in the end? If you have a negative, anything negative, to an even power, like a 2 or a 4 or a 6 or an 8, etc., it's always going to be positive. And if you have a negative in parentheses to an odd power, like a 1 or a 3 or a 5, etc., then it's always going to be negative. So here we have a negative on the inside, and it's to the 4th power, so that means it's going to be positive. So we don't have to worry about that negative anymore at all. And then 3 to the 4th is going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then you multiply these powers. So that's going to be 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81, p to the 12th. So you're going to apply this 3 to everything inside the parentheses. So that's going to become 7 to the 3rd. And remember that if you've got a power on top of a power, you multiply that. So it's going to be m to the negative 6. That's like over 1. This guy has to come across the multiplication bar, the division bar, so that you would get 7 to the 3rd over m to the 6th. M to the 9th, because I didn't multiply, I added those things. I say multiply and then I added, should be m to the 9th. Awesome. So you, when you are taking the power of a quotient, you just multiply that power by both the exponents. So let's look at this. So there are multiple approaches to this, but to me it's easier if you don't deal with what's in the parentheses first. So that's what I'm going to do. So 6 divided by 3 is just 2. And then x squared divided by x squared would be x to the 0 power, which is just 1. So they just cancel each other out. And then subtracting the exponents here, 6 minus 4 would give me m to the 2nd. And w to the 3rd divided by w to the 5th. If I subtract the exponents, that's going to give me w to the negative second. So this guy has to come down. So what I have now is 2 m to the second over w to the second squared. Then I have to apply that square to every single part of the fraction. So 2 squared is 4. Multiply those and you get m to the fourth over w to the fourth. So again, you could do this different ways. So if you did it a different way and got it correct, then that's fine. But I'm going to apply the exponent to everything in here. So that's going to give me 2 to the third p to the negative sixth, m to the sixth, w to the negative sixth. Do the same thing here. Oops. Okay, so this is going to be 8, and I'm going to add the exponents. You could do this differently if you wanted to, but negative 6 plus 2 is going to be p to the negative fourth, m to the 0, because 6 plus negative 6, and then add the negative 6 and the 10 on the w's, and that gives me w to the fourth. Oops, and I forgot this 4 squared is 16. That's important. So this just turns into a 1. So I have 8 times 16 is 28. And the w to the fourth gets to stay on the top because it's got a positive exponent. And this guy has to go down at the bottom because it has negative exponent. Now, this one looks bad, but if you just kind of break it down, it's not gonna, shouldn't give you too much trouble. So remember, when you're multiplying fractions, it's just top times top and bottom times bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to work with the tops first. So I have -6 times 4. And then I add the exponents, so that's going to give me x to the -2nd, m to the 10th, p to the -2nd, and w to the 2nd. Did I copy that right? Hopefully I did. Let's make sure before I keep going here. Oops. Yeah. So then we're going to work with the bottom now. I have 2 times 3, and then an x, and a w squared, and a p to the 5th, and an m to the 5th. Okay, so I can cancel these guys out, right? So -6 times 4 is -24, or I could just cancel common factors. But this would be -24 divided by 6, which is -4 on the top. And then I'm going to subtract exponents. So -2 minus 1 is x to the -3rd. M to the 5th divided by m to the 5th. I would subtract those exponents. That would give me m to the 5th. The w squareds are going to cancel out. And p to the -2nd divided by p to the 5th, subtract -2 minus 5 would be p to the -7th. So now this guy has to come down and this guy has to come down. So I wind up with -4 m to the 5th over x to the 3rd, p to the 7th. So what went wrong there? -24.
That should be right. I think the answer on the Kahoot is wrong.
I think it is. Ooh, and I didn't even write that one. But I should have caught that when I was going through. No, you know what it is? The answer should be the gold one. It should be -4 m to the 5th, x to the 3rd, p to the 7th. So I picked the wrong one originally. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't change the order here. Okay. That one. There's a lot going on here. So first I'm going to apply the 2 to everything. Again, multiple approaches. I could simplify what's in here first. Let's do that. And I'm going to do a couple of different things. I'm going to simplify what's in here first. Okay, so 2 stays on the bottom. If this x, if I subtract 1 minus 3, I get x to the negative 2. And 2 minus 1, I get y to the first, to the second power. So that's going to give me y over 2x squared to the second power, which would give me y to the second over 4x to the fourth. Okay, then this guy, if I simplify what's inside, that's going to be 2x to the fourth, y to the negative 1 to the third power. So that would be 2x to the fourth over y to the third power. 2 to the third power is 8. Multiply 4 and 3, and that gives me x to the 12th over y to the third. So now this is a new numerator. If I multiply top times top, that gives me 8x to the 12th, y to the second. And bottom times bottom gives me 4x to the fourth, y to the third. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 12 minus 4 is x to the 8th. 2 minus 3 is y to the negative 1. So this guy has to go down. And if you did it differently, I would not be surprised, because there's a bunch of ways you could approach that. Okay, so we kind of stopped and went over exponents. Spent a lot of time on that today because it's so important. So the homework for tonight, we didn't get to get into 5.1 or 5.2. So the main homework I want you to do is that worksheet. It's under the homework worksheets on the extra practice on exponents. And there's no place to put that in Blackboard. Here, let me put this over here.
Do you mean the one that also has the answer document with it?
Yes,
It's just
it
like
has.
a table. It's like a table
Yes.
looking thing? Okay.
Yes, and so you can check yourself as you go.
Okay.
Yes, it is. That's correct. So just email me that so I can look at it when you finish it. And you don't have to do. I said also do these book exercises. It wouldn't hurt to do them, but you don't have to do them. We'll cover all of that. Go over all that on Monday. Okay. Don't just do nothing over the weekend. Make sure you practice your exponents over the weekend. All right, any questions? Everyone good?
But I think I emailed you about my test because I think mine is stuck because I didn't technically complete it.
Okay, I sent it.
So-
I sent you that. I emailed you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't check my email yet. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh,
That's what I was telling people too. If you have any trouble seeing your test, let me know and I'll be
Thank
glad
you.
to get it to you. Sure.
so I need to-
Anything else, you guys? So I could put the Kahoot on the web if you want it on the website. I'll put it up there on Blackboard just in case you want to just practice over the weekend. And if you think of anything else that you would like us to do that would help you learn all this stuff, let us know. I will do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you graded I was worried about some of my graphs on the test 3 because I literally ran out of room in my graph paper. I had to be like throwing arrows and stuff.
You were
up, like,
making,
three
let me
up
just
here or
tell you
something.
something, Michael, you're like making it so hard. Those three that yeah, You'll laugh when you see what we were really asking for on that. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you made it way, 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 way more difficult than it was intended.
I'll use more finer graph paper next time.
Well, you don't really need to.
Oh,
You really don't. Look at your test. You'll see.
okay.
All right. You did great. You just overthought that section. Anyone else? Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
gonna do 5.1 and 5.3 on Monday, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
All right then, all good, thank you.
All right, you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather.
All right, see y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too, sweetheart.